Amalie Arena in Tampa. 10-seed Mississippi State still alive as Tennessee takes the floor for the first time. Those fans on their way inside the arena for quite a doubleheader. We'll start with the Volunteers and Dogs, and then 3-seed Kentucky and upset-minded 11-seed Vandy with the league's leading scorer. Welcome, everybody, to the night that is. Tom Hart alongside Dane Bradshaw. This Tennessee team has had a remarkable run this season. Rick Barnes says they're a national championship contender, undefeated at home. They play great defense, and they do it all with a very talented backcourt.
They do. I think they've got the best two-way backcourt in the SEC based on what they do offense, defense. Santiago Vescovi has been sensational, but make no mistake about it, if the Vols are going to have a deep run in March, it's the freshman Kennedy Chandler, who's been sensational recently. He's had some growing pains, but man, has he come on fire here towards the end of the season. He creates live ball turnovers, momentum-changing type plays. He's shooting it well from three, and he makes plays on the court that simply nobody else can make. And he has had a tough road ahead with the tough coaching from Rick Barnes, but he's been a quick study and playing his best ball at the right time.
He came in with high expectations. It took a while to get there, but he has lived up to them. Team rankings #1 in points, assists, and steals per game, and he's playing for a coach that you mentioned is tough on guards, but he knows them well. And Rick Barnes, in his 35th season, has another willing learner. For more on that, we go across the court to Alyssa Lang.
Yeah, guys, you talk about that relationship between Kennedy Chandler and head coach Rick Barnes. It's a very close-knit one, which is a big reason why Coach Barnes can be so tough on Kennedy. Talking to him yesterday and throughout the season, he said, hey, that's why I wanted to come to Tennessee. I know historically Rick Barnes is tough on his point guards, and I wanted him to coach me tough. And it never stops either. Throughout the season, the two of them would sit on the bus after away games watching film, not only once but twice through, and it continued here to Tampa. Yesterday in shoot-around, Kennedy Chandler was getting some practice in at the free throw line. Rick Barnes coaching him up on the mental side of the game because he knows when Kennedy Chandler is on, so are his teammates, and they're going to have to be mentally and physically tough tonight against a very, very physical Mississippi State team.
Yeah, let's try to listen. Mississippi State's defense was sensational late in the game. Last night, they held their opponent without a bucket for the last 10.5 minutes to send the Gamecocks packing. We focus a lot on Iverson Molinar. He's first team all-conference. He is sensational. But it's really the reemergence of Tolu Smith that has made them go.
Yeah, this guy is not a first-team All-SEC player because of the injuries he's had throughout the course of the season. But I'm telling you, this kid is playing at an All-SEC level. There might be better bigs in the SEC overall, but there's not a better big man offensively that you can dump the ball into down low in the post and get more out of, especially in the last 5 games. Tolu Smith has been an absolute monster in the paint.
Nearly 21 points a game on 64% shooting and 8 boards. He's gone through 3 different injury issues over the course of the season: a broken foot, a broken toe. COVID kept him out, a dislocated patella. He is back and playing great basketball. He had 21 in the previous matchup with Tennessee. Volunteers take the floor for the first time in Tampa. Their fans still on their way in after a busy day out in the sunshine. Champ Week rolls on in the first of our doubleheader tonight and the third game of the day from the SEC tournament. It was a convincing 73-51 win for State over South Carolina. Last night, the Gamecocks missed their last 13 field goals. Quite a defensive effort. Right off the bat, Chandler tried to burst his way in, but Iverson Molinar comes out with it for Mississippi State. Here's a look at the starters for Mississippi State, led, of course, by Molinar. They don't worry about the three as much. They get most of their points from inside the paint, and they start off just as their blueprint would suggest.
Molinar's the most patient point guard in the league. He makes you play at his pace. Tennessee has to get this game sped up, and it'll help if they knock down the triple like Chandler did there.
Last time out Saturday against Arkansas, Kennedy Chandler was magnificent from 3, 5 of 6. Most of those coming in the first half. If he's doing that, it opens up the floor for this entire Tennessee team.
And as a prep athlete, that was the knock on him, but he has worked hard to be a reliable shooter from deep.
Tennessee led Arkansas by 31 at one point on Saturday. The Razorbacks came storming back and made it interesting before Tennessee finished them off. Big bucket from Brandon Huntley-Hatfield.
Tennessee at a 14% steal rate, according to KenPom, that's 7th best in the country. So it's those live ball turnovers that are killers for Mississippi State. They have to handle the pressure and activity from Tennessee.
Number 3 in the country in defensive efficiency. Loose ball and across the inline, a State turnover. Transition early for Tennessee.
Well, good job by Chandler with those long arms, pushing it under control. Feeds not one, but 2 big men trailing. Finds the best option, and Huntley-Hatfield puts it in.
Josiah Jordan-James has been great late in the season for Tennessee. That shot in and out. Rick Barnes says they're a national championship contender. They certainly have the pieces to do so. 19-foot jumpers off the mark and a big rebound for Garrison Brooks. Dad and assistant coach here. Started his career at North Carolina. Molinar trap. Brought Plavsic all the way out, and he just came rolling into him. And he looked at the official. He said, what happened? Well, you pushed him out of bounds. Rick Barnes in his 35th season as a Division I head coach. He's been to the tournament 25 times. Won the Big East title with Providence in that tournament. In 1994, he's got some great postseason memories. He's looking to make more. Shot clock at 10. Tolu Smith traveled with it. 3rd turnover for Mississippi State. Ben Howland knows a little something about the postseason. Took UCLA to 3 consecutive Final Fours. Played for the national championship against Florida in 2006. The 7th season in Stark Vegas.
So here's a play for Vescovy. They love this money play where he's just coming off curls on the baseline.
Would he prefer to curl from the other side?
No, I think he can get it wherever he wants, really. He's last year, you would say, no, he can't go right. But now, he can go either way.
Molinar and Chandler. This is going to be an interesting matchup tonight.
And Chandler's a difficult challenge. He lacks some discipline at times, but that can be tough for the offense when it's unpredictable, when he's going to jump those passing lanes and take those gambles.
Possession arrow keeps the ball this direction. 3 turnovers already for Mississippi State. Tolu Smith had 20 and 12 in the win against South Carolina. Here's Molinar, 15 feet. He is deadly there.
Well, if you're going to trail that play, you got to at least contest from behind on the jumper.
Uros Plavsic working on Tolu Smith. Iverson Molinar has 4 points early. He and E.J. Liddell of Ohio State, the only players in the country to get into double figures in every one of their team games. Another turnover. Here's Vescovy out front, and an easy layup for the lefty.
And the live ball turnovers just can't happen against Tennessee. That is a critical part of their offense. If you can limit those, you got a chance. If not, you're done.
State only averages 13 turnovers per game. An injury to the ankle out front for Kennedy Chandler. The result of the play is irrelevant when you see Chandler holding his foot out at midcourt. He went down immediately. Chandler very gingerly makes his way off the court with and athletic trainer Chad Newman. Here's how it went down. The right ankle just chasing Anderson Garcia.
He rolls it there. I mean, you certainly hope he can get back in the game. If they can tape it up, get some pressure on it. But even if he can return, if Chandler doesn't have his elite speed to his full disposal, it changes this Tennessee team.
Kai Ziegler turns it over. First play for him, and then a foul against Josiah Jordan-James. It's the Tennessee team that has depth at the point guard position, obviously. Kai Ziegler has been a great story this season. Santiago Vescovy can run the point. but this is a guy that we featured in the Open that is a difference maker and could be a key to their postseason run.
Yeah, Tennessee's not known for their point guard. It's their point guards, plural, and they all complement one another, and especially towards the end of the game. The closing lineup this Tennessee team has consists of that three-headed monster with Ziegler, Vescovi, and Chandler. So if one piece goes down, it certainly changes the outlook.
Shaquille Moore cashes in 2 from the line. State has pulled within 1. You see Ziegler's speed as he pushes it up the court for Tennessee, and now Vescovi got a bump from Molinar. So Kennedy Chandler headed back to the locker room. Further treatment coming. There is an x-ray machine in this building. In fact, they're not going to make it all the way back to the locker room, just to the tunnel to try and test it and see. Here's James. Vescovi got by Molinar and resulted in an Adu dunk.
Penetration kills. Vescovi gets in the paint. The help defender comes uphill. Easy assist.
Tennessee's an active half-court defensive team, evident in the steals and the turnovers that they force. Shot clock is at 6. Been a point of pride for the Volunteers all season. Tolu Smith on the offensive glass with the bigs trying to take it up, and he draws the foul.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's just a monster down low. And Adu, the freshman's got to be ready for Tolu Smith.
Kennedy Chandler a little banged up. The spotlight shifts to Sakai Ziegler. We'll tell you part of his story after this.
That inspires.
Well, the boys from Scruffy City in town and on the floor for the first time here in the SEC tournament. 14-4 in the regular season for Rick Barnes' team. They have a 3-point lead on Mississippi State with the first media timeout. Kennedy Chandler out with an injury. We'll follow up with that, but the door is open for Sakai Ziegler, freshman from Long Island, New York, to get more playing time early on in the season. Tennessee has great history of New York players, Ernie and Bernie and Tobias Harris and on down the line. Well, it's not been an easy run for him. Before the Georgia came, Ziegler's mom's apartment in Queens was destroyed by a fire, and after that, they decided to put out a GoFundMe page. The university did, and they raised over $350,000 in donations. He has a special needs brother. That equipment was part of the money that was raised, and his mom came to Knoxville to finish out the season and spend some time around him. In that Georgia game, Rick Barnes told us, he said, I'm not sure Zakai is in a great place right now. It was obviously very bothersome to him, as it would be. The one thing that he told his coach when he said, Zakai, are you okay? Is there anything we can do? What did you lose? And he said, Coach, everything I own is right here. And that speaks to his upbringing.
Just another reason why Tennessee fans love this guy. And that money was raised, the majority of it, in like the first hour.
Yeah.
And that was done in 24 hours. And he has endeared himself to this fan base. He plays as hard as a fan would if they were ever given this opportunity, and that's the key to getting the respect from the fan base.
I tell you, one really cool thing about that is we see all the fans here in the building is it wasn't just Tennessee fans, other fans throughout the SEC. We see Kennedy Chandler returning for a report. Here's Alyssa.
Just standing over in the Tennessee huddle talking to the athletic trainers. They were working on him moments before he walked back out onto the bench. They said they're still evaluating him and no decision has been made yet. I'll, of course, keep you updated on what that looks like.
Wow. And on the other side, Jonas Adu just went down hard. Tolu Smith charged with the personal foul. Excuse me, they gave it to Jeffries. I hope Adu's okay. Looks like he hit his head.
It's going to be a physical game.
How about this? Back on the floor.
Come on, man. You know you can't keep Memphis kids down long.
At a Briarcrest Christian. Dad played in Hamilton High School in Memphis alongside SEC great Todd Day. Here's Ziegler. Now Fulkerson. There's 3 point guards on the floor at the same time. What are you looking for with Chandler to see his effectiveness with that ankle?
Oh, the transition game and his ability to penetrate, get downhill with elite speed.
What a move.
Yeah, they're going to have to look at bringing some help, either bluff or bring that double, because Tolu Smith's going to take Tennessee's post to school down low if you get that deep post position. Boom. Come here. You're not going to bring a double? That's disrespectful to me. You better look at the trend lately. I'm the best big man in the SEC right now in terms of scoring down low.
It's been a windy road for Tolu Smith, originally from Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, out of Bay High School, then spent his senior season at Kahuku High School on Oahu's North Shore, his family from there. And he takes great pride in his Polynesian heritage and says he gets great support throughout the country when others watch him play. Was a Hawaiian Player of the Year before going to Western Kentucky, and now hitting his stride in Starkville.
Well, it's the Polynesian paint right now for Tolu Smith, and somebody's got to come in there and change that.
Garcia sandwiched between Vescovy and Ziegler, and a state turnover now. This is back court versus front court, isn't it?
It is. Boy, that's a deep one.
It's good for Vescovy, his first three of the night.
He has led the SEC during league play in three-point percentage. He has been the steady, reliable veteran for Tennessee. Earned all SEC first team in the coaches poll.
Second best three-point shooter in the league. Ball fake, Jeffries three. We got an answer, and we got a shootout. They say it's a two. For now, they'll take a look at it next dead ball. Ziegler pushing. Chandler looks fine to me. Here's Uroš Plavšić.
See, I would argue, Todd, there was an opportunity for Chandler to go downhill with his right hand, and he kind of backed it out. And Vescovy, he just has that high release. He always catches preparing to shoot. And then that's definitely a two. But a good sign for Mississippi State just to see an outside shot coming into the tournament. They had only had two made threes in the past 5 games. That was worst in the country.
Fulkerson with the slash, and he's going to the line. They are, to your point, 346 in the country in three-point percentage.
Well, they want to see quick decisions out of Fulkerson, and you see it here. And he's just a really tough cover when he's decisive when he gets the ball.
A lot of senior citizens come to Florida. It makes sense that John Fulkerson will have a big game here tonight. SEC record, 161st career game.
He eats dinner at like 4:30 now.
Plavšić always seems to be in the middle of things. And so Harry Overby, he's going to say, hey, let's make sure this is clean and clean it up before it gets ugly. Terry Oglesby making sure that those bigs don't get in each other's way. I was talking to Plavšić about it last week, and he said, listen, if I get under your skin, that's on you.
No, look, that's part of the scouting report on him. I guarantee you, in the film room for Mississippi State and every other team in the SEC, they talk about his game, but before they get to that, they're talking about his attitude and how you can't get a technical foul.
And what was the first thing you said to him when he came in the building tonight?
Who are you going to get a tech on?
And he said, whoever wants it.
Whoever wants it.
Ziegler picks up the foul.
Team foul number 5 for Tennessee.
He is non-stop. What a road that he's been on. Native of Ivančak, Serbia, by way of Arizona State. Gets to see his family about, well, once a year. Goes back home for about a month, and that's it. They're unable to come see him play stateside because of the tightness of visa control these days. Shot clock winding down. Big time three for Jeffries. He's got a long two, and now he's got a triple.
And they're a different team when they can make some shots from the outside. They don't have to be great. They just have to be average from deep to give some balance because they're terrific from two.
Nice. Ziegler reversed it.
I mean, when a guy dribbles at you, that's oftentimes a sign to cut back door or get the dribble handoff. They get the back door on that one.
with the bad ankle that he otherwise wouldn't in games that you've seen.
I just felt like he had the lane when he first got the ball to go right to his strong hand, and he kind of backed up a little bit, waited for another opening. Look, he's so fast. He went 70 miles per hour instead of 90, so he's still faster than most.
Vescovy and Fulkerson not on the same page, and a Tennessee turnover. Their third. Tolu Smith picking up where he left off. He's got 5 early on for State.
Yeah, Stars are stepping up early, and Tolu Smith, he is playing his best basketball here in March and not ready to go home at all. And Vescovy, SEC's top three-point shooter in league play, does this one from about 28. Bang, bang.
State won 4 games in 4 days to pull out the victory. 4 dogs in double figures. Phil Turner had 12 and 10. Mississippi State won a championship for the 3rd time in school history, the first since 2002. Raymond Johnson had 11. Jarvis Renardo had 10. Barry Stewart had double figures. They cut down the nets here to move on. It was the 3rd title in school history. Renardo, the fantastic shot blocker, NCAA leader, was the SEC tournament MVP, and they won as the West 3 seed. That was after a 9-7 regular season record.
Got some legends in that highlight reel. Bernardo, of course, D. Bost. He was phenomenal on the perimeter. See J.P. Prince. You can't run a Tennessee highlight without seeing J.P. Prince snowbird. The last guy back on D usually gets some pretty good dunks. He was a teammate of mine in high school. I can say these things.
Yeah, no doubt. But Chandler is able to track down that bounce pass from Moore. They turn him over in a full court press, and Josiah Jordan-James will kick it back out. Tennessee has done a couple things here early on they don't do much of. They only press 8% of the time. They play zone 6%, and we've already seen an example of each here in the first 9 minutes. Here's Fulkerson.
Some good buckets and minutes right now from Fulkerson. And that's really where Mississippi State has the advantage, but Tennessee's been able to get some decent looks in the post.
So why zone and why press the State team?
Well, you want to get the tempo going with the press, and you zone because they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country.
Chandler finds a loose ball again. Another takeaway for the freshman from Memphis. All day to set up. And it's Garrison Brooks with the rebound. Molinar had a couple buckets early, but quiet late. He wants to get it back from Garcia. Anderson Garcia making his 2nd consecutive start. It'll stay with State. Alyssa, what'd you hear in the Tennessee huddle?
Yeah, guys, we had Tennessee back towards the beginning of conference play, and Rick Barnes was telling us about how he was challenging this team to step up from a leadership perspective. Over in the huddle just now, it was Josiah Jordan-James and Uroš Plavšić getting on their teammates. Of course, Uroš sitting here going, we got to be aggressive because that's what he does best. And Josiah Jordan-James saying we have to take care of the basketball. Also a lot of emphasis on Mississippi State's shot takers and making them take uncomfortable shots.
Nice finish by DJ Jeffries.
That's uncharacteristic right there. A straight line drive against a very disciplined Tennessee team usually does not happen.
James tracks down his own miss.
Going back to Alyssa's point, Tom, I think Josiah Jordan-James has also been a very willing leader to share that real estate, if you will, and one by Plavšić with guys like Zakai Ziegler, a freshman. And watch this. I mean, how do you not come over and help a little bit? Plavšić just slow to react. Vescovy can't get there in time. Doesn't want to pick up the block, but he's going to get the and one here. This is a Tennessee front court that's really by committee. There's no star that's emerged. Olivier Kamwa went out with that injury earlier in the season. He had the most upside, but they've done a really nice job collectively as a unit to keep things in check.
Plavšić off the mark. It's a 4-point lead, and then Huntley Hatfield just picked up his first foul. So Jonas Adu at the 5 spot has 2. Huntley Hatfield has 1.
But paint points 16-6, Tennessee's favor. That's not something I would have predicted coming into this game.
State State is 3 for 4 at the rim. That's more of what you expect. And we got a travel. We got another coaching change coming in the SEC. Conzo Martin is out at Missouri after 2 NCAA tournaments in 5 seasons, 4 years to qualify for the tournament with 1 canceled. And spending time with Conzo as we have over the last couple of weeks, that is a man that is has higher goals in mind than coaching a basketball team. He can continue to lead men no matter if there's a ball involved or not.
He's at peace, and he has terrific perspective. He'll be the first to remind you of where he grew up and what he's overcome. Had battles with cancer, growing up in tough environments in East St. Louis. So to him, this is not adversity.
No.
He's going to be fine. And you know, one thing you can always say about him, the program was always run clean, always with toughness. And one of the more memorable runs for this Tennessee program when he took them to the Sweet 16.
And uncompromised principle. Also a head coach at Missouri State and Cal. So Missouri joining Georgia in a search for a new head coach. Loose ball, Vescovy finds it, gets into the open floor, turns it into a 3-on-1. But Tennessee can't convert. Jeffries walked with it.
And you see the toughness there by Vescovy. If you think you're going to take advantage of him or punk him down on the post, think again. I mean, he's a very underrated defender, gets the most out of his body and athleticism. They've done a terrific job with his player development.
Tennessee leading by 4. This is a team defensively that was is third in the nation, was 5th in the country in efficiency last year. Active hands by this backcourt.
They are, but they get more steals from a team that gambles less than anybody I know in the country. So many of their turnovers are based off proper positioning, and they guard the ball. That is the key. They can get down and guard the ball. Very few of them require any help at all. I mean, if you're getting beat off the bounce, you're not getting on the court at all for Rick Barnes. And so when you do, when a team does penetrate and they try to make that extra pass or knife through somebody, it often leads to a turnover. So just a really disciplined Tennessee defense. But they do have active hands, great instincts, and just some God-given ability when you look at guys like Kennedy Chandler and his huge wingspan, creating those live ball turnovers.
They play with good tempo, yet they don't allow much scoring. You saw that last graphic, and to add to it, 7 of the last 9 SEC opponents, they've held under 65. This is a defensive-minded lead. The SEC leads all conferences in block percentage and steal percentage. You're going to have limited possessions no matter who you're playing. There's Brandon Huntley Hatfield.
It's just so difficult to get Chandler out of the paint. When he starts going downhill, even if he's got a little bit of a bum wheel, he's faster than most.
Largest lead of the game. Chandler got the ankle rolled on that time and hopped out of there.
Personal foul, team foul number 7 for Mississippi State.
It's a 17 foul on State.
Again for Tennessee, number 5.
Watch what happened with Chandler at the end.
Keeps his head up. Again, the defender helps uphill. Tennessee's gotten that a couple times. And then Vescovy going to land on him. Golly, come on, guys.
Derek Fountain with the personal foul. A moment ago on the offensive end. What is Tennessee's best action in the half court?
Quick ball movement. Don't let it stick. They're one of the best in the country. Over 60% of their makes come off assisted baskets. They are not as good when they make one-on-one plays.
Fulkerson aggressive on the offensive end. Lost it, but they'll get a foul on Cameron Matthews.
Foul charge to Cameron Matthews. First personal foul. Team foul number 8 for Mississippi State. Tennessee now in the bonus.
And Fulkerson to the free throw line. 6-year player from Kingsport, Tennessee. Chandler chatting with Olivier Kamwa, has been lost for the year due to an ankle injury. And Chandler still way off the bench Just trying to get some movement.
Mississippi State's got to find number one. I mean, Iverson Molinar had 2 good looks to start this game, but he hadn't touched it since.
Triple pump fake for Smith. Good defense by Fulkerson. Vescovy ridden out of bounds, and they get a foul on Matthews, his second. It'll put Santiago Vescovy at the free throw line when we return to Tampa. Tennessee with a 6-point lead early on. Injuries concern for Tennessee, and APB put out on Iverson Molinar. State needs him if they want to get a win. Week here in Tampa, and it continues with the headline games tonight. That's a beautiful shot. The work never ends. Aggies made a run. Held off Florida's late comeback. Buzzer beater in overtime. Then knocked off the 1 seed Auburn. And Vanderbilt into the quarterfinals. First appearance since 2017. Oh, by the way, they're the only team. Can you hear that wind? The only team with a winning record against Kentucky. And they get the Cats tonight. Buddy's Tony had 22 for Arkansas. I got a text from somebody during that Arkansas game who hadn't watched the Razorbacks much this season. It simply said, man, this team is fun to watch, and they are.
Yeah, especially when they have all their pieces. Aldis Toney, a guy many SEC fans might not know that name, but he's been out the past couple games with a bad foot, and he's one of their top defenders. Tonight he stepped up on both ends for the Razorbacks. And they have shown that they're not just good in Bud Walton Arena. Their game can travel.
Chandler back on the floor. Another free throw coming for Santiago Vescovy. Turnovers have been a huge issue for Mississippi State. They've turned it over 4 times in the last 3 minutes. That doesn't tell the whole story.
No, it doesn't. They've had 21 possessions, and they've turned it over on 11 of them. So just as many turnovers as they have field goal attempts.
Alyssa, what'd you hear from Ben Howland?
Yeah, guys, it was a pretty frustrated Mississippi State huddle. It was more Iverson Molinar getting on himself and his teammates saying, guys, we have to wake up. We've got to clean this thing up. Really expressive, guys getting on each other, trying to get on the same page.
Well, you could argue they've been a second-half team in this tournament in just one game, but they exploded in the second half against South Carolina. But they can't wait till halftime to make adjustments.
Outscored the Gamecocks 37-17 in the second half. And a foul against Josiah Jordan-James, his second. Anderson Garcia has given them a nice lift starting the last couple of games from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, this dude's one of the best athletes on the floor, but he's in the lineup for his toughness. And with his recent surge in minutes, he's been averaging right at a double-double.
Garcia played his high school ball at Hamilton Heights. He had 7 teammates who spoke Spanish. And Alyssa, you got a surprised look on your face when you asked Ben Howland how his Spanish was the other day.
Yeah, it was quite the moment talking with Coach Howland and learning that he speaks pretty fluent Spanish, guys. Anderson Garcia said it actually made his recruiting process a lot more comfortable knowing that his coach could speak his native tongue. I did ask him before the South Carolina game what the moment he thought of, what he thought the moment of getting his first start was going to be like here at this tournament. He said, well, I know they put me in the lineup early to bring the energy in this game. And I said, well, how do you do that? He said, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I just bring the juice, which kind of reminds me of you guys on game day, so I loved it.
Well, Damian Fishback brings the most juice with his sartorial splendor. Here's Garcia inside. First bucket for him, but it makes sense that Ben Howland would be fluent in Spanish. When he left Weber State as a player, he went to play professionally in South America. We played in Uruguay with Santiago Vescovy's grandpa. So when Vescovy showed up on Tennessee's campus middle of the season a couple of years ago, Howland said, hey, I know that name. Why didn't he give me a tip to his son?
I thought we were friends.
Or his grandson, excuse me. Victor Bailey with the rebound and takes it out of bounds.
Garcia's activity has been terrific since that timeout. This time he gets a little bit lucky, but when he continues to have that motor, he finds himself in the right place at the right time. On the other end, has a key block.
You give Smith an assist for that one?
Of course. But Tennessee had an opportunity to kind of try to extend this lead. And Rick Barnes' message to his team is, guys, we cannot give other teams lifelines.
Chandler long two.
Trying to avoid that with jumpers like that.
Volunteers lead is 8. Matches their largest. Bailey on the floor for the first time for UT.
Yeah, good call. Weaves in and out, a little bit of a snake dribble, finds his spot. He had a lot of hype coming into the season. There were certain games where you wondered if he was going to meet those expectations. Then all of a sudden you look up and realize he's tops on his team. Minutes per game, steals, assists, right up there in points for a top 10 team in the country. I'd say that's a pretty good freshman year for the freshman phenom.
Here's Iverson Molinar, first team all-conference for Mississippi State. He's got 5 early now. Not shooting the ball well, just 1 3 in his last 7 games, but he knows how to get to the line. He's second in the league. Free throw percentage, he's 5th in field goal percentage. Most of those coming on drives into the paint.
Well, you got to get him more touches and looks. And the first step is don't turn the ball over if you're Mississippi State. So keep an eye on that developing story with the turnover bug they've had early on in this one.
Chandler to Vescovy. Here's Chandler, baseline jumper, couple of mid-range shots, and he's got 7.
He's all of a sudden become a 3-level scorer. You've seen what he can do from deep at the rim, and now he's showing you the mid-range.
Molinar over Fulkerson, and he gets the foul. If Iverson Molinar was yelling at his teammates to wake up, he took the advice to heart, and he's done it himself, back-to-back buckets.
This kid is just so good. He gets in the lane. He always jumps off 2 feet more times than not. I mean, he's just a very patient player, never floats too far, doesn't get many charges called on him. And when you think about this Mississippi State team, where the lane is typically so congested because of their bigs and their lack of three-point presence, and yet all season long, nobody can stop Iverson Molinar from getting to his spot, shows you just how in control of the game he is.
He's from Panama City, Panama. Came to the States for the first time when he came to Veritas Prep in California to play high school basketball. His mom had made a similar journey when she came to the San Diego area as a highly sought-after volleyball player. But it was a bit of a blind journey for Molinar, and it's turned into first team all-conference performance. Fulkerson cut off. Shot clock at 6. Chandler, step back 3. Brooks the board. Shaquille Moore cut off, finds Javian Davis. Gets his own mistake, but an empty possession, and Davis gets on the floor for it. Great hustle before a tie-up. Will give it to Tennessee. Brandon Huntley Hatfield has gone back behind the curtain, getting the right foot or ankle looked at. Chad Newman's been kept busy. Look at number 2 on the right side of your screen.
That's 2 rolled ankles with no other player involved. Kennedy Chandler went down similarly.
Tennessee with a 5-point lead. State has been leaning on Iverson Molinar lately. We'll see if he can keep the roll going.
Well, the turnovers for Mississippi State, the only thing prohibiting him. Tennessee doing good with Chandler out.
And I can't just wait to hear what our friend Dang, as Starbucks likes to call him,
Dang?
break down this second.
Back to Tom and Dang.
That's good.
Dangerous, healthy or not.
You got to admire just his willingness to get back in the game. And he's taken a couple bumps, man, and just keeps getting rolled on, and just bad luck. But he's been a great facilitator. His IQ's been terrific in this game, moving without the ball. And that's something that's been a work in progress for him since he came to Knoxville, was learning how to play the game. And he is developing right in front of our eyes. Rick Barnes and his staff have done an awesome job with him.
Only Dang Bradshaw had the same assist in steals as DJ Jeffries inside. By the way, Santiago Vescovi told the Tennessee radio crew, Burt Bertelkamp and Bob Kessling, a couple of years ago, that it was really hard when he ordered coffee in Knoxville to give them the name Santiago. So he simplified it, and he would just say Bob. So certainly,
it's quite the accent you have, Bob.
Not a whole lot of Bobs in Uruguay. Ziegler, no.
Tom, doesn't it feel like Tennessee's been in control of this game, yet you look up and it's just 3 points, Mississippi State with the ball? I mean, they just hang in there. Tough Bulldog team.
Here's Moore. Got it from the corner. Shaquille Moore's first triple. Tennessee fan Jim Anderson celebrating his 72nd birthday today. He really wants to see Tennessee get a bucket. State has fought their way back into this thing to tie it. And Moore with the big rebound.
Tennessee's a Jekyll and Hyde offense. They can be flamethrowers, but then they can become bricklayers sometimes in the same game. Their defense has to keep them in it.
Fulkerson kept it alive and drew the foul, and Garrison Brooks.
Good basketball here by Molinar. Penetrating, under control. Kicks it out. Nice pump fake, sidestep. Moore. He's one of those guys that can make the three-point shot. They don't have a lot of shooters on their team, but he's one of them. Had the game winner for their only road win of the season at Missouri earlier this year.
Fulkerson to the free throw line. His best game of the year came against Arizona when Tennessee held the hand of the Cats. Their first loss of the season right before Christmas. He's been through such a both rewarding and tough career as a Tennessee Volunteer that he got emotional in the post-game interview that night, and he said, you know, this school means so much to me, and I have such an appreciation for everything the sport has given to me, but I still have things I want to do. One of those was leading the band, a la Peyton, and he was able to do that in their second-to-last home game.
He's checked just about everything off the box. I know one thing he'd like to check off the box is a Final Four, something that has eluded this Tennessee program. And there's a lot less traditional basketball schools in the SEC that have a Final Four banner. Tennessee trying to get themselves in position for that. All about seeding right now if they can go deep in this SEC tournament.
Tolu Smith got deep on Plopchich. Uros Plopchich is a 7-footer. He only has 5 blocks this season. Here's Ziegler. Used every bit of the rim, and it's a first three for fan favorite Sakai Ziegler.
You see the speed of Tennessee. They don't only run on misses, they run on makes. So Mississippi State can't be back there celebrating a basket and jogging back. You got to hustle and point them out.
Moore to Tolu Smith. Little floater, and all of a sudden he's back and involved. He's got 9.
I mean, you can't find a more confident big man scoring in the paint right now in the SEC than Tolu Smith. That includes Sheboy, Walker Kessler. I don't care who you name. Tolu Smith is the best scoring big right now in the league.
Vescovi. Now Plopchich. With the left, nice touch.
Well, they're going to play them one-on-one. The 5 men for Tennessee are going to get some isos in the post until they make teams pay. So far in this game, Tennessee's been very effective down there.
Moore on Ziegler, got the foul and banked it in. It's a second on Ziegler.
You know he's going left, and he's a tough kid. But if you can't force him to his right, this time he gets the dribble handoff, and Ziegler gets caught with the hand. Nice job there, and just Ziegler, once you put those hands in there, bring those hands down in any way, shape, or form, refs tend to blow the whistle.
Shaquille Moore is from Greensboro, North Carolina, played AAU ball for Chris Paul's program, CP3, and started his college career at North Carolina State before transferring to Mississippi State. Ziegler will sit for the rest of the half, under a minute to go. Mississippi State solved its turnover woes, and the Bulldogs have climbed back in this game. Chandler got a bump. Shaquille Moore commits the foul.
And as a reminder, this is a Tennessee team that's been holding just about everybody under 65. They're the third best defense in the country, yet Mississippi State, not known for their offense, is 13 of 20 against Tennessee. That's going to be the message for Rick Barnes at halftime. It's all going to be on the defensive end.
65% from the floor. Volunteers' opponents shooters a hair better than 40% on average in the season. Another free throw coming for Chandler. Good to see. He didn't make a free throw against Arkansas. It was 0 for 3. Talked to his dad after the game. And he said, it's really tough for me to appreciate the threes, but we can't take the frees.
Well said. And that, you know how March is. It can come down to those free throws in the end, especially with your point guard.
Free ball coming. Way off the mark from Derek Fountain.
It was a small sample size last year, but Derek Fountain was a guy that shot close to 40% a year ago and just has not been able to find his stroke this season. 2 of 11 in the regular season.
7-second difference, shot and game. Chandler will come back to get it from Plavcic. Touch pass, Justin Powell. Rebound on Molinar, shot clock off. State can go in the locker room tied in a game that they trailed by as many as 8 multiple times. Clock now at 8. Chandler will back off to 5. Garcia kick out. Shaquille Moore with 1. Follow tip not there, and that's how the half comes to an end. If State hadn't turned it over 11 times, we'd be looking at a different score at the break. But Tennessee shoots 50%. At the end, someone's getting that trophy Sunday afternoon. It will be awarded here in Amalie Arena, where Tennessee leads Mississippi State 39-37. We get set for the second half, but this one's still Kentucky and Vandy to take the floor as soon as we're done here. Champ Week rolls on. Tom Hart alongside Dane Bradshaw. Coming into this game, Tennessee, the third best defensive efficiency team in the country. They showed it by turning State over, and that's been the story of this half.
Yeah, and it's their steal rate that's more impressive than anything, and they made Mississippi State pay. Mississippi State way too careless with the basketball, and when they did turn it over, Tennessee is going the other way. They've got terrific speed. Their bigs run in transition, and it got Mississippi State in the hole early. And it wasn't just like they turned it over a couple times. It was 11 turnovers in the first 12 minutes of the first half for Mississippi State. At the under 8 timeout, they were accountable in the huddle, and it was a different Bulldog team after that. The handoff to Molinar. Molinar says, cool, I got one. I'll share the wealth a little bit. Give it to you, Moore. Moore's like, I like it. Let me get somebody else involved. Here's Tolu Smith. He was a monster in the first half. And then he gives the love to G.J. Jeffries.
I like how you put words in their mouth, like you know what they're saying to each other.
Yeah. It's not like what you do to me for the.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what to say, but let's check in with Alyssa. What Ben Allen say to you?
Echoing basically everything that Dane just said. I asked him what the message was to his team at the half. He said, we played a good first half of basketball. We just have to take better care of the ball. He said he told his guys, we're not going to beat a top 10 team in the country with 11 first half turnovers. It can't happen. He said he focused on that as well as playing better transition defense. He said it's got to happen.
Here's Plavcic down the lane, and he commits a foul immediately. That's his second. 57% shooting to Ben Howland's point for Mississippi State in the first half.
And I don't love that look. You got your big man rolling to the basket. Advantage, disadvantage there. I'd rather swing that around the perimeter or drive.
little bit of pressure from Tennessee. Once again, they don't do it much on fewer than 10% of their opponent's possessions. Picking up full court.
Tennessee has Josiah Jordan-James back in the game. He had those 2 personal fouls. They were plus 10 when he was on the court in that first half. Really hurt when he was on the bench.
Chandler on the floor again, holding his ankle. They play on above him, and Plotchich nearly stomped on him.
This is the 4th time we've seen him go down after that initial injury.
Let me ask you a question. In terms of what is on the line for Tennessee in the postseason, and Kennedy Chandler's value in winning in the NCAA tournament, how do you balance that with the value of winning or trying to win 3 games in 3 days and winning a trophy here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think you can risk anything health-wise, but if he says he's good to go and it's one of those, hey, it won't get worse type things, then you let player and trainer make that decision.
Rolled it again.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that you don't want to become a nagging injury, though. I mean, if it keeps following you game after game, and we're seeing it now, play after play. And Tom, this is a team that doesn't have elite star power. So when they have one of those pieces out, it really hurts. And Josiah Jordan-James showing how important he is to this Tennessee team.
Token pressure again. Tennessee leads by 5. 4 threes tonight for the Volunteers. Garcia. And into Smith nearly. Molinar has been hit or miss. And now Shaquille Moore. Rebound James. Tennessee is prone to going to offensive droughts. They did it in the first half. Good start and good finish, but in between, they were inefficient.
And Mississippi State bothers them on that baseline screen action. They just start switching everything on the perimeter when Tennessee goes to their late shot clock play.
Molinar finds Smith out of the double. Going against Plotchich. 5 blocks coming in for the 7-footer all season. Doesn't usually get to shot city challenges. Here's James. Couple of threes.
I mean, he is playing with such confidence. He's the glue guy for Tennessee. They were plus 10 with him on the court in the first half. He's now up to plus 16. Shows you just how important he is. Josiah Jordan-James has been a different player as of late. Confidence through the roof. You're going to see him here. Just coming off that curl. You're not going to come out on me? No problem. I'll stare you down. Ziegler penetrate pitch. Again, you better get out on him. He's not just a three-point shooter. You better run him off the line.
Birmingham 1979. Volunteers won the SEC tournament, knocked off Kentucky in overtime, earned the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Tennessee's first tournament championship since 1943. It was when the tournament came back. Bert Bertelkamp was a starting point guard on that team. Bob Kessling was a young fan cheering on the Volunteers, I'm sure. Playing for head coach Don DeVoe, talking to Bert about it before the game. He said, you know, the way the thing was set up, Kentucky had already played a couple of games. We only had to beat them once. They've been there all week. We're hanging out at the hotel. Not bad.
Yeah, maybe a little bit easier path when there were less teams, but they went to work in 1979. Now he's become a legend on the air saying money anytime that three goes in. And he's been having to say money when Josiah Jordan-James has had the ball quite often, and he's just become such a different player. When he stopped relying on just the three and actually made his three-point shooting go up because the defense had to respect him as a driver and a threat to go towards the rim. And you just look at this production. When he stopped relying on the three-point line, 76% of his shots were coming from three in those first 16 games. Once he lowered that, got better balance, you see what happened to the point production and the three-point percentage.
He's 6'6", 214. He has the body to get to the rim. He has the ball skills to do that as well.
And he's been so key with their defense, and not just their offense. He can guard 1 through 5, and when they want to go small, he can move to the 4. If they want to go big, he can move to the 3, and he can switch whenever you need him to.
His name is a mouthful, but his mom prefers we do the whole thing. Josiah Jordan James. It's both driven from the Bible and basketball. Josiah and, Michael Jordan, by the way. Shaquille Moore with the 3. State within 5. They've been highly efficient when they don't turn the ball over. Here's James again. Another 3. He's got 11 thanks to 3 threes after he started with a 2.
He's red hot right now, and he is seeing a huge rim for Tennessee.
Kennedy Chandler trying to keep that ankle loose.
Yeah, guys, I've been standing back here watching Kennedy Chandler through the last couple of minutes in that last huddle. At first, they were working on him on the table. Then, as you just saw, he was working out in that little hallway area, doing some stability drills, skipping around, trying to put pressure on that ankle. He's back out here on the floor cheering on his teammates, but not yet at the bench.
A lot to cheer for with Josiah Jordan James. Tennessee has its largest lead. He has 14 tonight. James had 18 in the previous matchup with State, and he is carrying Big Orange in the second half. Molinar got deep. Plavcic commits his 3rd. You can almost feel the confidence exuding from James.
We've been showing a lot of James replays, and it looks like the same shot each time. He is playing with so much confidence. I love this second one. I mean, he is clapping for that ball, calling it. Usually he defers to his teammates. He says, I want it. Kennedy Chandler saying, hey, man, let me get some ice on this ankle, get some rest if you're going to keep taking care of business like that.
Season. Every game he's played against Kentucky in his career, he's scored more than the game prior, and that included 33 last time out. Kennedy Chandler getting loose for Tennessee, trying to keep that left ankle loose. What have you found? What's the best way to try and get back on the court in this scenario?
Well, for him, he's got such elite speed, and we've seen him still be able to get past guys on the dribble. He just keeps re-injuring it time and time again. And so if you're Coach Barnes, you want to keep it loose, but you also want to play this thing by ear and see if you can hang on to a double-digit lead without having to put him back in the game.
Tennessee's offense has been unselfish, to say the least, tonight. 15 assists on their 19 field goals, and James taking advantage of that. He's got the last 12 for Tennessee, and all 5 of his field goals have been assisted on. Here's Tolu Smith.
When I want to know how Tennessee's offense is doing, that's the first thing I look at, is that assist rate. They are 12th in the country at 62% of their makes coming off of assist. It's when you force them to play one-on-one and off-the-bounce type plays that you can bother them, and Mississippi State has been unsuccessful at that in the half court.
Another one coming for Smith. Did you hear from any Kentucky fans when he said Tolu Smith is the best scoring big man in the league?
Recently, past 5 games, he's averaging 20. When you dump it down to him on the block, he's got some moves, man. He's been playing well. Sheboy, look, he's National Player of the Year. I'm not saying Tolu Smith's up there all-around game. He's historic. But Tolu Smith playing with some real confidence down low.
Where would State be had Smith been healthy all season?
Oh, I think they're an NCAA tournament team. It's just been the injury bug. We've seen that happen to a few teams in the SEC this year. some teams more fragile than others and some with a greater margin for error when it comes to that. This Mississippi State team sure could have used him early on.
Tennessee turnover. Smith with the defense on Huntley Hatfield. 6th turnover of the game for UT. Kentucky Wildcats in the building. They'll take the floor for the first time in this tournament as soon as we finish here. I think Oscar Shibwe is reading your tweets right now or sending you one.
I'm sure he's concerned with my opinion.
Fulkerson, a hard foul on Tolu Smith. That's a second on the Tennessee super senior.
Run some good action there to get Smith an angle down low.
Tolu Smith averaged 3 points and 2.5 boards as a freshman at Western Kentucky. Then he sat out for a year as a Mississippi State transfer. He was behind Robert Woodard and Reggie Perry, battling with those guys during his redshirt season, and that'll make you better fast.
No question. Reggie Perry, one of the best bigs in recent memory. You mentioned with him being out, it also forced Garrison Brooks to play the 5 rather than the 4, and already trying to learn a new system from North Carolina. So having these two playing better together here lately as opposed to individually.
Huntley Hatfield inside. He's got a half dozen.
The communication just has to be elite when you're playing Tennessee. They run so many screens. They slip. It's just constant movement. If you take a second off, they will burn you.
Another zone appearance for Tennessee's defense. State more threes in this game than they had in the last 4 regular season games. But they go back to the bread and butter. That's Tolu Smith.
I think you either got a 3-quarter front, full front, or bring some help. You can't leave your big on an island against them.
15-footer for the freshman from Clarksville, Tennessee.
That's a nice shot. Tennessee needs a big capable of making that 15-footer consistently. Kamwa, their injured 5-man, was the best at it. Somebody's got to fill those shoes.
Back cut denied, stolen away by Ziegler. They're trying to go to Molinar. Vescovy.
Not the matchup you want necessarily. I'll clear this thing out a little bit and take them off the bounce.
Been Huntley, Hatfield, and James last couple of minutes. Mid-range, good. Josiah Jordan James, junior from Steeple City, Charleston, South Carolina. Had a career-high 23 against Georgia a couple of weeks ago.
Not on an all-SEC team, wasn't on the all-defense team. Certainly a lot of people felt like he was snubbed from there, playing with a chip on his shoulder in this tournament.
Ziegler denies.
This is the balance you're looking for. He just has such great poise to his game and a beautiful jump shot. I think that's the best part of his game. I know we've highlighted the threes tonight, rightfully so, but that one dribble pull-up, he just rises up with his terrific size and high release. And how about those numbers?
4 of 5 from 3. He's got 3 dimes. Tennessee trying to keep this spread with Chandler on the bench. Here's Brooks. He injured his ankle for the first time at the 16:30 mark of the first half. Then turned it 2 or 3 times more. Smith reverses. Fulkerson finds it. Tennessee 7 of 9 in the second half from the floor. They are sizzling right now.
Well, they've held Mississippi State to 2 of 10 on the other end. I mean, that was their issue in the first half. They could not get stops unless they were turning Mississippi State over. Their half-court defense has been much better. As a result, so is their offense.
Nice kick to the corner. Not a shooter. Huntley Hatfield only 2 of 13 from 3 this season. And a conversion on the other end from Jeffries. He's got a dozen. Ben Hallen will use a quick timeout. with State down 9. That ends a 2-minute scoring drought for Mississippi State. Tennessee is red hot. Mississippi State trying to outplay the Squeaks. Big bucket from deep. Do they have momentum? They won both games. One was comfortable, one was tight. And Vanderbilt is the only team with a winning record against Kentucky in the history of the SEC tournament.
You look at that, you got to think that's a typo. That would have been the last team I guessed.
Oh, I read it in the newspaper.
Yeah, I sent you the clip. Yeah, that's my research. I'm not a team player, Tom. I'm taking credit for something I took from somebody else.
I got another nugget for you. Did you know that John Calipari has won more SEC tournament titles than any other school besides Kentucky, of course, and Alabama?
That's insane. If you say it, I believe it most of the time.
What are you going to do, the research to prove me wrong? Sounds good.
But, John Calipari told us earlier, he said, look, the first game in these tournaments is the toughest. Just trying to get accustomed to the arena, shaking off a little rust, especially in that double bye. The opposing teams already got a little bit of confidence, momentum. See what kind of start the Wildcats get off to in our next one.
Vandy will be playing its third game in as many days. Molinar running through 3 different volunteers. They cut him off on the baseline. Moore, tough shot. And Fulkerson is able to draw the reach in.
There's John Fulkerson, great big-to-big passing there. Hatfield finishing above the rim. I mean, this is just a Tennessee team. They can pass and distribute at every position on the court.
Have you noticed when it comes to John Fulkerson, when he gets fouled, he flails. He looks like one of those inflatables outside of a car dealership.
The waving inflatable too guy. Grant Ramey on the beat for Tennessee. I saw him post that the first time, and you're right. If he's looking for an NIL deal, I mean, that's it. We need a real human out there to bring traffic for the used cars.
Is that
You'll never be able to watch John Fulkerson the same again. I'm telling you, once you get that image in your head, you'll never be the same.
Molinar with the push shot, Fulkerson with the rebound.
Tom, this is a moment right here where Tennessee's got the lead. Nice play by Ziegler. Where Rick Barnes has to make sure they do not throw out those lifelines he refers to in other games where they've let teams get back in there, they hurt themselves as they did at home when Arkansas almost mounted a huge comeback in Thompson-Boling Arena.
Molinar jump stop. And Mississippi State having a hard time to hit those shots within 10 feet.
Pretty impressive by Tennessee doing all this with Kennedy Chandler on the bench. I mean, they've been able to have him on the bench at times during the season for learning reasons under Rick Barnes, where he's going to play other guys at times. But it shows the depth of this Tennessee team. How about the speed by Zakai Ziegler? I mean, you hadn't seen a little guy ball like this since Bow Wow did it at Like Mike. Zakai Ziegler is just the man. Good luck staying in front of this guy.
Did you just drop a Bow Wow reference?
He said he's been getting it his whole life, so it's not that I'm original. But I might be the first one that said it on the air, at least. So.
I think you are. What do you celebrate from Bow Wow's collection?
Oh, man, I'd have to go back in the archives. I do still have my 200 Case Logic CD collection, though. I break out every now and then.
That's very good. If you break that out, with fly back to when Mississippi State won this tournament last time it was here. What does State have to do to get back in this game, and obviously taking it one game at a time, not even thinking about tomorrow?
Well, for Mississippi State, a 13-point lead with 10 minutes to go is a real challenge because they don't shoot the three very well. They don't have a lot of tempo, so they got to get outside their comfort zone a little bit, maybe gamble a little bit defensively with some pressing and some trapping, see if you can't force Tennessee into some turnovers. The issue is Tennessee's so good handling the ball, sharing it back and forth.
How about Reggie Perry in the house? One of the players of the year in the SEC in 2020.
He was a monster down low as well, and you know what I loved about him? He was going to punk you down low, and he was going to let you know about it on the way down the court. He had some trash talk in his game.
Kind of like the bar fight we saw last night where one guy said to the other, "You look like a Lego man." That was cruel.
That was. I've never heard somebody call another short man a Lego.
You're a Lego. There's room in the building tonight if those fans are here tonight. This attendance has been sensational tonight, and the Kentucky fans still have yet to fill in all of their seats. This is a huge arena. It's a few thousand seats larger than Bridgestone. We'll be back in Nashville next year, kick off a 10-year run, but no doubt that the fans throughout the SEC have appreciated the chance to come to Florida this week. Bow Wow.
He's unbelievable, and you see the performance, but more importantly, he is the heart and soul of this team. And he did not get Sixth Man of the Year, but I can guarantee you Rick Barnes would not trade him for any other sixth man, much less any other player in the SEC. And I can't recall a time in Tennessee basketball history where a freshman has so quickly become the identity of a team with a lot of upperclassmen and on a really talented team. Five and White is a legit leader.
Best point guard Rick Barnes has had by a margin would be TJ Ford at Texas. And you asked him, have you ever had a point guard that was a leader at such an early age? And that was the first name, probably the only name that
the only one.
Share.
Yeah, quite the compliment. And knowing his story, an overlooked guy that bet on himself, only had one offer from Bryant University that said take it or leave it. Great story by Mike Wilson of the Knox News on his humble beginnings and sneaking on train rides to get to basketball games in school.
Bryant's punched his ticket. They're going to be in the postseason. Fulkerson challenges Molinar.
They literally punched their ticket, huh?
Yeah.
Bit of a brawl.
I heard somebody called somebody else a Lego that night.
The teardrop, how about that? Nothing but nylon for Ziegler.
With 2 shots is Iverson Molinar.
And he is the head of the snake defensively for this team. And Kennedy Chandler going to get some action, get Ziegler a breather. But he's been holding down the fort at the point guard spot with Chandler on that bum wheel.
Molinar's first opportunity this half. Here's Alyssa, who's back.
Standing over there talking to the Tennessee trainers, they said obviously he is cleared. You see him there on the floor. Another thing I feel like we have to mention, how about the play of Josiah Jordan-James so far tonight? 16 points, 3 rebounds, and he's really been like a second coach in every single Tennessee huddle. The last few I've been at, he's the most vocal. He's getting on guys, making sure they understand that now we have to get multiple stops on defense. Let's put this thing away and let's make it easy for us the rest of the night. Let's play tough on D.
If you're a fan and you're watching, you see Kennedy Chandler come back in the game that your team is leading by 14. You might question it, but obviously these aren't going to put him in a position where the injury could get worse.
I agree, but you know he's had a string of bad luck. Just had guys landing on him left and right.
Ziegler fouled.
And we saw this earlier in the shoot-around. Olivier Comwa talking to Josiah Jordan-James. This is a younger guy talking to the veteran who's willing to listen and teaching him about the 4 spot. He said, hey, like Coach Barnes said, when you get the post up and you face up, here's what you do. And I alluded to it earlier. Josiah Jordan-James said, hey, in high school I played with a lot of great guys, and they were willing to listen, but when you're a freshman or an underclassman, you kind of feel like you got to be given permission. We had a players-only meeting before the season where I spoke up and told all these guys, look, everybody's got a voice. Typically, a players-only meeting is in a crisis management type situation, but they were much more proactive thanks to Josiah Jordan-James.
And seeking input from all, kind of the opposite of our broadcasters-only meeting we had before this season, where I said, Dane, you will speak when spoken to.
I just text my ideas in. I know I'm not going to get a word in.
Ziegler into double figures. And on the other end, State, no field goals in the last 4.5 minutes, just one for their last 8 overall.
But the key is Tennessee's half-court defense. They have held Mississippi State 3 of 16 in this half, as opposed to 65% from the field in the first.
Shaquille Moore fouled. That'll be on Santiago Vescovi. First for the junior from Montevideo, Uruguay. What a night for Josiah Jordan-James. Got the Bible, he's got basketball, and he's got some hoops in this one. Working towards what could be a career high. He's got 16. This is the scene outside the arena. Can you believe they put Dane, a.k.a. Dangerous, on that big Jumbotron? Kentucky fans get some shots up, riding some bikes, maybe having a couple of cold ones and watching this one. And those guys have been doing a lot of pushing and pulling, it looks like. When your championship belt, as the guy on the left shows, is upside down, you're doing it wrong.
The great Darnoko once said at the SEC tournament on a shot like that, he said, at some places you grow out of it, at Kentucky you grow into it.
Those guys have been doing more pushing and pulling than you and me.
Yeah.
I actually saw them walking when I left shoot-around today. I saw them walking down the street, and it was about 85 degrees today. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And somebody, if you know those gentlemen, send them a bottle of Febreze.
So what do you do with that? You just give eye contact and head nod and act like they're not wearing that?
Fellas, you just say, go Cats, and move on. Shaquille Moore has a baker's dozen. Tennessee up 14. And a foul on Plavcic. That is his fourth. I was talking to Urosh earlier this season about coming to the States to play basketball and the new experiences that he's had, and it actually turned into international relations. We talked about what's going on in Ukraine, and he said, you know, it's something I can relate to. When his mother was pregnant with him, that occurred during the bombing of Yugoslavia, when NATO planes were bombing his hometown for 78 days, and she spent most of that time in a bomb shelter before they were able to leave and make their way to Serbia. Brooks for three. A nice little scrape on the arm. You know, he is dating Lawyer Malloy's daughter. She's a standout softball player at Tennessee. She's an All-American. And I said, what did you know about softball before you came here? He said, nothing. I knew nothing of softball, baseball, football, but I've been to all of them, and I've got a great appreciation for it now, the experiences that he's able to have here versus very limited opportunities back home in Serbia. Chad Newman staying busy.
Getting some airtime, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's an unbelievable story. It really is. The international flair on this team, a great mix, terrific culture, but they all come from different places, backgrounds, but they've got one thing in common. Work ethic, high character, and team-first mentality.
Can this team win a national championship?
That would help. You know, you look out there and you say, all right, how many guys can really win their individual matchup on a given night when teams take stuff away? But the beauty of them is they're a team. That's also the concern a little bit, is a lot of them need to be assisted and set up to get the makes. But, man, it's poetry in motion when they got it rolling offensively. I do think they'll have to catch a break a little bit. You know, you can't – I don't see them going through murderer's row all the way to the Final Four. Their seeding will help avoid that some. Vescovy playing with incredible confidence right now. His conditioning is off the charts. Ball fake game is up there with Ginobili. I mean, he's really become a star in this league.
Now if he could just catch a bat mid-game. Here's Ziegler. When Manu did that? Ziegler crossed midcourt. The lane opened up to him. He gives it out to James. It's off. The Kentucky and Vandy after this one.
Look at Ziegler fight down low. Garrison Brooks, he's not giving up anything.
He's called for a high.
Yeah, I got mouse in the house. He said, no, sir.
Great defense by Ziegler. It turns into a three that's short from Brooks.
I mean, that is 5'9" on 6'9", and 6'9" has to settle for a three.
The state team has had a hard time winning away from Starkville. 1-9 true road games. Now 3-2 neutral. But every time they had an opportunity to pick up a huge quad one win, they faltered. And Ben Howland was very direct at times. We only have 4 opportunities left, and then 3, and then 2, and then this is a must win if we want to get an at-large. He knows the mathematics of it. The state team that would have had to win this tournament to make it into the NCAA tournament. Under 4 to play, Tennessee up 14.
We mentioned before, this is their closeout crew right here. Move Josiah, Jordan James to the 4. You got your 3-point guards in the game, and then whatever 5-man's playing the best ball.
Great looking bounce to Fulkerson to pull it out with 8. Ziegler, wrap pass, Fulke with the layup.
And it's 21 assists on 28 made field goals now for Tennessee. You just can't beat Tennessee when they're slicing you up like that.
Reminds me of Bernard King in Fast Break, huh? That wasn't part of your collection?
No, I hadn't seen it. No of it.
Here's Jeffries. I'd do better to get a Step Brothers reference from you. Garrison Brooks with another 3. Did you bring your drums on the trip?
We both have some off-season work to do. There's a few things you got to learn, and I'll do the same. I'm receptive to any feedback.
Two and a half minutes to play. Rick Barnes seemed loose to you the last couple weeks?
I mean, he always does. He recognizes what the team does well and what their weaknesses are. And coming into the year, you felt like, hey, this is going to be one of the best, if not the best, 3-point shooting team he has ever had. And they take a bunch of threes. That doesn't mean they always make a bunch. But what's kept them in it is their elite defense. Though they can lock in. That's why you trust them in March. And that's why they have so many quality wins against some big-time teams, including the likes of Arizona. And they can survive scoring droughts. And they can win a game in the 60s if they need to. And they can certainly win a game higher than that when their offense is clicking.
Ziegler got Molinar up. State has settled for threes in their attempted comeback over the last minute or so.
And they really have. Tennessee's done to Mississippi State what Mississippi State did to South Carolina last night in terms of just getting locked down in the second half. That's now just 6 of 23 for the second half.
Winner of this one gets the winner of Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Tennessee split with Kentucky over the course of the season. Cats' most impressive win of the year came when they shot the lights out at Rupp against Tennessee. Then the Volunteers returned the favor at Rupp. Pardon me, at Thompson Bowling. Vescovy runs out to the 3-point line. Chandler with the tip. He's proven to be a volume scorer when needed. His grandpa played at Hamilton High School in Memphis, just like his dad. Initials KC, they called him 40. Because that's what he averaged tonight.
You were nicknamed 40 as well. Less noble reasons.
Indeed.
Well, impressive showing, especially in the second half for Tennessee. Their offense was clicking in both halves, but in the first half, they couldn't get stops unless they were turning over Mississippi State, and that's not who they are defensively. Second half, they locked down, took care of business, and showed you why they are a legit contender, not only for an SEC tournament championship, but a national championship.
Rick Barnes and Ben Howland embracing on the sideline. Two veteran coaches. State will aim for the NIT. For veteran coach himself, Howland, it took UCLA to 3 consecutive Final Fours. And Tennessee will move on to play the winner of Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Well, Ben Howland first went to the NCAA tournament with Northern Arizona and now failing to get there with Mississippi State. He really liked this team, just injuries got in the way early on.
Yeah. And coming into the season, you felt like they hit a home run in the transfer portal, and things just didn't work out. Like you said, with the injuries, the chemistry was never there. The opportunities were there, especially on the road. Only one road win on their resume.
The Barnes team will continue to play here in Tampa. He's standing by with Alyssa.
Coach, we know your program prides itself on tough defense. What'd you make of the way they were able to close it out?
I do think we were better in the second half. I really do. I also respect the fact that Mississippi State had a game last night, and we knew if we could just maybe keep playing the second half, we can maybe make fatigue a little bit of a factor. Ben Howland is a terrific basketball coach. He really is, and I love the way his team plays, but Josiah got hot. You know, his threes blew the game, got us the lead anyway. We were able to do it, and I think we had more ankle turns tonight we've had all year. But nonetheless, we were able to get it done against a team that, again, I'll say what John Calipari said all week. We deserve more than 6 teams in this tournament after this one, and I hope, again, I believe that.
Coach, I know you mentioned the ankle turns. You said at halftime, Kennedy said he was fine. He came back out. He came back in. How is he now?
Says he's fine, you know, but yeah, I mean, obviously he twisted a little bit, but again, he wanted to play through it. And he said he was fine, so we have to go with him on that. And I thought Zakai got better as the game went on. Yeah, he hasn't practiced very much last week, but the fact is he did a good job for us.
Thanks, Coach. Congrats.
Thank you.
Coach mentioned Josiah Jordan James. What a huge game for him tonight, Dari. Can't wait to hear what the guys have to say about this one.
All right, Langan, thank you very much. We got the 3 of us, of course, myself, Shooter, Fish. We got 2 volunteers up here with us as well, Zakai Ziegler and Josiah Jordan James, 2 Z's and 3 J's. That's what we're sitting up here with right now. Look, you guys, tight game in the first half. We know that. Second half, you pull away. Josiah Jordan, tell us, you know what, I've got a question for you. Do I go Josiah? Do I go Josiah Jordan? Or do I go JoJo?
If you're asking me, I don't care. But if you're asking my mom, Josiah Jordan James.
I don't, okay, fine. Josiah Jordan James.
Yes, sir.
What changed? What was the message at halftime?
You know, we felt like they were imposing their will on the inside. We knew that our defense, if we played the way we practiced, that we would be able to stop them. And we knew shots were going to fall. They played pretty good defense in the first half, but we were getting open looks. But it was really our defense that led to our offensive scoring.
Zakai, much has been talked about how you have emerged over the course of this season. But when you got on campus, what were your goals? What did you expect out of yourself?
Anything to do to help the team. That's all I was really coming in to do. Try my hardest, play my hardest on defense, and let the game come to me on offense. But it was really just to help the team as much as I can.
You know, you all do such a phenomenal job of distributing the basketball, being unselfish. Where do you think that stems from, Josiah Jordan James? Don't call you by your complete name.
It stems from our team motto. It's not about me, Enom. And so we preach that each and every day. And so there's no egos in the locker room. We just care about winning basketball games. And so it's our motto. That's to be a player at the University of Tennessee, you got to stand by that.
I like that.
As you're watching, 4 straight threes. I cannot. How big did the rim feel to you?
It was pretty big. I give credit to my teammates. They're screening, getting me open, getting me good looks. And so, I mean, those are shots that I practice every day.
Yeah, and Zakai, when you see a guy, and he's as hot as he was there in that stretch in the second half, I mean, that's the reason you all expanded this lead. What's it like watching it, and offensively the mindset and the philosophy of getting him the basketball?
Get him the ball. That's all I was thinking in my head. I don't care if I pass it, Santi, whoever. Get him the ball. He was hot. I seen him make one. He came down, took another one with confidence. After that, I said, oh, man, here he go. He going to light it up.
So how does that feel as a freshman coming in, right, to emerge as a leader? And that takes good teammates to allow you to assume that role. Is that something that you have had throughout your course in high school and other teams that you played on so you could step into that role?
Yeah. Throughout my high school career, my AAU season, it was all the same exact way. Just trying my best to lead the team and do whatever I could do.
And I'll say one thing. I played with a lot of really good basketball players, but none of them have been as tough as him.
Love it.
each and every day. It's hard. It's hard to do what he does. And as a freshman, I know he has a bright future.
Could you put your finger on the toughness, physical, mental, or is it just every day working through
Physically
challenges?
and mentally.
Yeah.
He's a small guy. He knows that. But I mean, I try to post him up in practice.
How many
It's
times have you
tough.
heard that?
It's tough. He's strong physically, and then mentally, I mean, he's tough as nails. I mean, nothing bothers him. I remember when I came in, Coach used to get under my skin. Coach never bothers him. No adversity ever bothers him.
Yeah,
So I strive to be like him.
Tell them the size of your heart. I'm going to ask both of you guys. You know, I love the video where I saw Rick Barnes talking about he was pushing Pete.